Corbyn. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here tonight. Thank you to the Church on the Rock for giving us the venue tonight, the biggest we could find in North Islington. Thank you all for filling it with hope, with optimism, and with joy, because that's what we're about. This is the 99th event that we've done as part of this campaign. Saturday in the conference centre in Parliament Square will be the century, will be the 100th event. We will know the result, and I'm looking forward to that with interest, if not some anticipation. I want to say a big thank you to a lot of people tonight, but particularly to Islington North Labour Party, because as John has explained, when we decided we would contest this election, it was a difficult decision. We didn't know how far we would get. We didn't know whether we'd make any progress at all or not. And I kind of hoped that we'd have this quiet decision in a small room in the House of Commons. And I knew we had a North Islington Labour Party meeting that evening, and I could come along and inform the party of what I was going to do and ask if it was all right by them. Unfortunately, what I hadn't accounted for was that Diane Abbott lives on the end of her phone, and she lives on the end of Twitter, and when we finally said yes, we'd do it, she pressed send. And the whole world knew about it. So by the time I arrived at the meeting, it was very well known. And I want to say a personal, huge thank you to Islington North Labour Party for the support that night, the support at the special meeting, the support in the recent general elections and the other 7 general elections when I've been elected to Parliament, and unbelievable levels of comradeship, friendship and support during good times and bad over the past 32 years. So it's a very heartfelt thank you to all the members of Islington North Labour Party. Community that it's been and is and remains my privilege and pride to represent in Parliament. To represent in order to try and improve the lives of ordinary people, to represent to try and stand up against injustices, and people that will be prepared to stand by those that are standing up against injustices. I've never forgotten the day that Paul Hill's uncle and aunt, he of the Guildford Four, came into my office and told me the plight of their nephew, wrongly imprisoned for something he didn't do. And we took up the cause, we mounted the campaign. The abuse we all received from an awful lot of newspapers was absolutely unbelievable. But eventually, the truth was out. Eventually, after he had spent 18 years of his life in prison for a crime he didn't commit, he and the other 3 walked out of the Old Bailey that day. That was a triumph for ordinary people standing up for justice. So sometimes you have to take risks to achieve justice. And this campaign has been absolutely phenomenal. We've been in every part of Britain, all the major towns and cities in England, the major towns and cities in Scotland, in Wales. We've also been in Belfast. We also went to the GMB Congress in Dublin, and we went to Brussels for the European Parliament hustings event. We've spoken at meetings that have attracted thousands and thousands of people. But there's been a number of watchwords around our campaign. The first one is the style and type of politics that we do. Because I think a lot of people in this country didn't vote in the general election. 36% of the electorate didn't vote. 53% of the young people didn't vote in the election. Might be many reasons why. But I think fundamentally, many people are turned off by a political process when the major parties are not saying anything different enough about how we run the economy and how we deal with the issues of austerity. And secondly, that they're totally turned off by a style of politics which seems to rely on the levels of clubhouse theatrical abuse that you can hurl at each other in Parliament and hurl at each other across the airways. And so, nasty and unpleasant as much of the stuff is printed is and remains, and is deeply hurtful to my wider family and close friends, we're not responding in any way. We don't do that kind of politics, because we're only interested in positive politics, about optimism, about hope, and about decency in society. And in our campaign, we've also set out a lot of ideas. We've set out a lot of policy papers. Those policy papers range from the economy to education to housing to railways to developments in the north to devolution to arts policy to culture policy, environmental policy and many others. All of them are there to be discussed and debated. All of them are there for people to contribute to. Because I think the day when you elect some all-seeing, all-knowing, brilliant celebrity to lead a political party who goes and hides away and writes out a policy statement, sends it down the food chain and says, that is the policy and that is the process. Sorry. Ordinary people meeting in Labour Party branches, in union branches, in community groups, in campaigns, have all got absolutely brilliant ideas. Access to social media and the internet gives us the opportunity to communicate in a way that wasn't possible before. I'll give you an example. We produced a paper about developments in the north. In 1 week, we had 1,200 well thought out, carefully crafted ideas to add and develop the ideas that we had offered in the first place. Exactly the same on every other policy document. That really is how you construct agreement around ideas. That is how you start to mobilise people to put those ideas into action, to make them part of the political discussion and the political narrative. That is how those ideas end up being legislation, end up changing people's lives for the better and for the good. As John MacDonald, and what a brilliant chair of our campaign he's been, John. Thank you so much. The way John has pointed out, we started out with very little, and we've gained support. We've gained fantastic support from the unions, and I am proud to be a trade union member. I'm proud of the connection of the unions to the Labour Party.